Time for us to talk sustainability. And after nearly 2 years of work at the Wits University School of Physics, a team of about 25 scientists have unveiled a cheap way to warn South Africans about just how dangerous the air around us might be. Their South African Consortium of Air Quality Monitoring has developed an accurate, cost-effective air monitoring system dubbed AI_R, I hope I'm saying that correctly, that samples air quality in real time and then communicates that information digitally and analyzes it with AI. And to tell us more about this fascinating project, we're joined by team leader of the project, Professor Bruce Mhlungu, who is a particle physicist at Wits School of Physics with prototypes of the system. Professor, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about this system that's now been developed and how it works.
So, as you correctly pointed out, it's a way to solve a very serious problem that we have with air quality monitoring, which is cost. One of the main reasons why air quality is not measured everywhere in order to understand where the hotspots of pollutants are located is the cost. So, for instance, in the case of South Africa, we have a very good system, SACAQM, which is maintained by government. But because of the cost, we have only fewer stations located, for instance, in the city of Johannesburg or the city of Tshwane. So these stations, what they're going to do is they're going to measure air quality, if you're lucky, within 500 or meters or a kilometer around that station. So that's not dense enough in order to understand where the hotspots of air quality are located. So the solution to the problem goes via the integration of cost-effective technologies that are coupled with artificial intelligence. So let me try to unpack it. So we use air quality sensors that are known to be effective enough and accurate enough, but that are cost-effective. They are linked through a system of Internet of Things. So these are wireless communications. So we don't require expensive installations or cables or anything of that sort in order to have the signals being communicated to cloud computing. And through the cloud computing, we are basically performing calculations using artificial intelligence in order to be able to predict what's going to happen tomorrow or what's going to happen in a week from now. So the idea is to use this system, this cost-effective system, around the more expensive stations that already exist in order to be able to extract sufficient information to provide predictions or forecasts of air quality, just like we do forecasts of the weather, for instance.
And so is the data that's collected or the information that's collected, is that for use by the public? Is that information that's meant to be used by, for instance, government, either local government or provincial? Is that information that's meant to be used by experts and researchers such as yourself? Where does this information that the system is collecting, where does it go?
It goes to all of the above. So the information is public, is publicly available. Right now, we have about 20 stations taking data in around the area of Wits University and schools in Soweto. That information goes to the public and, of course, to experts as well. I mean, there are experts that are eager to get their hands on that data in order to be able to make predictions with their models. So it really goes to the public, goes to experts, and to government and policymakers. When it comes to government and policymakers, it's of course extremely important to develop accurate models in order to make predictions to inform policy. So policymakers not just want the raw data itself, but they really want the interpretation of that data through comprehensive models. So yes, I would say all of the above, yeah.
And so at the moment, how many of these sensors do we have around Gauteng. Is this still the pilot project or the pilot phase of the project, or has it now been rolled out and we've started seeing the rollout?
Right, that's a very good question. So we have just concluded a pilot phase before we roll out hundreds of these systems. It's extremely important to test that the system is self-sustainable, that the sensors are always going to take data 24/7, that there's no breakdown of communications, that the data is of good quality and it follows expectations. So that has been already proven. So that was the point of the pilot, and we have already received sufficient funding at the moment to be able to roll out 100 to 300 sensors. Those are going to be rolled out in the city of Tshwane and Johannesburg, but also in areas where the existing SACAQM system doesn't have a lot of coverage to the west of Gauteng. So that will basically, that phase will start already within the next couple of months, and that will constitute the largest collection of sensors, of cost-effective sensors in the country.
Mm-hmm. And then, Professor, one of our big challenges is the issue of power, or at least consistent power. We've now just had, an exceptional time of 100 days, I think 102 days of electricity. Do these sensors require electricity? Do they work with backup power or alternative sources of power? How do they get around or, deal with the issue of there are times when our power is inconsistent, and I imagine the sensors need to be on all the time?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Because of what you just mentioned, the issue of power, so these sensors and these systems have been designed to consume very little power. So in order to provide sustainability with respect to potential losses of electricity, these systems will have the appropriate batteries so that the operation of sensors will not be interrupted, and it will be taking data 24/7. So these sensors consume very little energy. They consume less energy than, for instance, a cell phone, and they're powered similarly to a cell phone, and they can actually take data for days without power.
Professor, it sounds like a fascinating part of work that you are doing, and thank you so much for joining us to tell us about it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
That is Professor Bruce Mhlungu, a particle physicist at the Wits School of Physics, who's currently a team leader on a project that's using AI power to monitor air quality in parts of 702 land.